head coach of the football team. You take care of the defense.
That's a great
and
gift.
That's exactly what he has. So the staff is extremely solid.
Let me talk about Dak Prescott last night. I went back and I looked at his 19 career starts that he won. He's 19-9, and there's two things. In the 19 wins, he gets at least 160 yards rushing on average and 2 rushing touchdowns, and they win the turnover battle. I compare him to a babysitter. Brady, as a babysitter, knows CPR, can cook, can drive, and fold linens. Dak, you bathe your kids. They're already a little tired. He can find a movie on Netflix. Translation, Tom doesn't need much help, can handle chaos. Dak can't. Could I make the argument that Jerry Jones this year, the Zeke situation, that by and large at 6-6, he's handled, Joe, the chaos in America's #1 sports brand? We can criticize him, but boy, we've had so much noise. You quarterbacks in the nation's capital. You had political noise.
Oh,
you had a crazy owner
everywhere. Well, Mr. Cook wasn't crazy. He was very nice to me.
He was outspoken.
He was very different. He was very demonstrative, and he was very demanding. I mean, when he came to practice, it was a whole different world. Coach Gibbs was not the same man on Wednesday when because the pressure was there. The boss was there. I am here. And that's the sort of the way Jack was. I am here. Everybody, get out of my way. I mean, it was that way. But he was respected tremendously. I mean, he was great to me as far as a player goes. I really think that in Dak's case, we forget that these guys are so young. We want to automatically compare Dak Prescott to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees. It's unfair because there's so much more that they have to see, that they have to go through. This is really the first time Dak has dealt with adversity. You stop and think about it. Last year it was a ride. It was wonderful. I hand the ball off, I run around, do some things I want. Everybody's healthy, everything's fine. Lost some of his offensive linemen, had to deal with getting sacked a ton of times. Now all of a sudden he doesn't have Zeke, but the running game is solid enough. The thing he has going for him is the offensive line. They took over the game last night, basically, up front. But the other thing is, I don't think you can look at the Redskin-Dallas game and get a true evaluation of where the Cowboys are. They beat the Redskins 38-14. The Redskins are a shell of what they could be as a football team because they don't have the people to compete. There are guys that are starters in this business, and there are guys that are backups in their business, and the Redskins are down to the backups' backups, okay?
Okay.
So that's where they are from a personnel standpoint. So how do you evaluate somebody when they're so overmatched and they give you 5 gifts on top of everything else? So not to take away from the victory or the job that Dak has done, but I don't think they were really challenged to the point. They were in the first half. But as the game went on, it became more and more evident that the personnel of more talent was going to overcome that of lesser talent. So it'll be interesting to see what they do over the next 4 weeks. They have to win all 4.
Yeah. And their schedule, Dallas' schedule, is pretty workable. They get Sean Lee back. They got an Oakland team that doesn't play defense. They get Zeke back. And Philadelphia, by the way, in Week 17 may rest starters.
And that's another great challenge for Doug, because you don't want, if you rest the starters in Week 17, you probably clinch home field, which means you're going to get 2 weeks off. So now you're not going to have your players playing for 3 weeks. That is a very, very dicey situation. That to me is one of the most tenuous situations that a coach can get into. You play really well, and then you get down to Week 16 and 17. You've locked up home field. You've locked up the 2 weeks off. Now do you put your guys out at risk? I don't think you put them out at risk. I think you have to let them play a half. You have to
That's what I think.
You have to keep them playing.
Yes.
You can't just say, go take some time off.
I want them focused. I want them in the game prep. Okay, let's go to Carson Wentz. There used to be Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book called Blink. He writes a lot of these books. And the theory of Blink was thin slicing, that our gut instinct initially, if you walk into a room and think it doesn't feel safe, your gut instincts are right. If you fall in love, you know it earlier than you think. And I've always said this with quarterbacks. When Andy Dalton came in this league, I'm like, he's a B minus. Now he had Hugh Jackson, he had Jay Gruden, he had Mohamed Sanu, he had all these receivers, and everybody's like, oh. And he's kind of regressed back to what I think he is. Good, solid B guy. Flacco, same thing. I loved the minute Russell Wilson came in the league, I was like, holy moly, that's Deshaun Watson. Carson Wentz of Philadelphia. My initial belief was, I'm not sure we've seen this. Just feet, arm, leg, size. North Dakota, hunting next to a freeway in Jersey. I see a little Favre. What do you see?
I do. I think Brett's a fair comparison to the type of a football player that he can be. I see him getting great support. You know, again, the first interception that Kirk threw last night went right through Jameson's hands.
Yep.
Winds up an interception. Look at the throws that Carson made this past week when Alshon Jeffries just reached out and made some catches. He's got guys playing for him. Here's what happens is when you start to develop a camaraderie, when people can count on you and they know that you're going to be there, you're going to make a play, you show a little bit of toughness, a lot of intelligence by not taking shots, guys start raising the level around you. To me, that's leadership. Can I get guys on the team to play up to a level? Tom Brady had it. Peyton Manning had it incredibly. We saw what he did in Indianapolis. Then he goes to Denver. And you watch the players around him. I don't want to disappoint him. Right now, those players, they don't want to disappoint Carson Wentz.
Yes.
They're playing, not for necessarily, but they don't want to disappoint him. You know, they got something going. They understand what's going. But the other thing that he has for him, and I say this constantly, what is the greatest asset that a quarterback possesses is a great defense. They will bail you out of a lot of bad situations, and there isn't anybody that has the defense other than maybe Minnesota. They get close right there.
Okay.
But Philadelphia's defense is really, really something that I think is something to build off of.
Okay, the most underrated quarterback, because you were surrounded by a lot of great quarterbacks, a lot of times, Joe Theismann, what'll happen is what's happening to, I consider you very Phillip Rivers-like. Because Phillip Rivers, because he's surrounded by, you were surrounded by the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants, and there's Elways and that. And all of a sudden you look at your numbers and you're like, boy, Joe Theismann was really, really good. Phillip Rivers has played in this era of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Favre. You were at practice yesterday for the Chargers. I got to tell you, I think Phillip Rivers in the last 10 years is the most underrated player in this league.
And I think he's having probably one of his best years this year. He really is. He's healthy. He's got a supporting cast around him. I think Allen, the receiver. Keenan Allen's really playing well. He's got someplace to go with the football. They've got a pretty decent running game in Melvin Gordon. They've got some help there. The Bosa, Joey Bosa, I think their defense, they've got some guys that can put pressure. Maybe they add a little bit up front going forward. But I see him playing 2-3 more years. I see like Tom. I see another 2-3 years out of him. The big thing for Phillip was I think when you go through to transition of losing running backs, losing wide receivers, losing tight ends, Antonio Gates was such a big part of what they did for a long time.
Yeah.
Now you lose them. All of a sudden, it's like, as a quarterback, you're trying to make up for it. Again, I'll reference back the Cowboy game a couple weeks ago, or last week, I guess it was, not the Redskin game, the one before, is what happened is they wound up in a situation where Dak felt like he had to make plays. And when you're a quarterback and a guy drops a ball, so now you have to throw it a little more perfectly. You have to put it in a little bit of a different place. You're asking yourself to do things that are unnatural, which cause problems. In Phillip's case, I think he's found another comfort level with this football team. He knows he can get the ball out of his hands. They know they can put points on the board. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's funny. Tiger Woods is back playing golf. In the game of golf. It's great to see him back playing. Phillip has one of the more unique deliveries in football, okay? Wherever it goes, however it comes out, but it always winds up there. It's catchable. It's not hard. It's in a position where he's going to give his guys a chance to make a play, make a catch, and go do something with it. And I think it's grit. I think it's intelligence. I think it's experience. And like I said, I think this is, you look back at the body of his 14 years, probably, I don't know if he's had many, 3 or 4 in this category. I think this is one of the best.
Absolute pleasure. What's your restaurant out in the D.C. area again?
Joe Theismann's. It's in Alexandria, Virginia.
Joe Theismann's. I love the clever name.
Yeah, it took us a long time.
Yeah.
Studied it a long, long time.
Is it like American grill food? What do we got here? American
cuisine.
Okay, so if I said, Joe, are you a good cook?
No, I am not a cook. I put a knife through my finger. I covered
really?
a couple. Yeah, I put a knife right through my finger one day, and I retired from the restaurant. They actually kicked me out. They said, you're too dangerous to yourself and to what's going on in the kitchen, so you're gone.
Can you pour a Heineken at the bar?
I can do that. I do walk around behind the bar and visit with everybody. I can pull the tap. I got that. Matter of fact, we have a tap set up called a Broken Leg Lager. So,
I know where that comes from.
Yes, I know you do.
Great seeing you, man.
Great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Joe Theismann. Christine with the news.